Hola, my name is Elena Gutiérrez. I'm an holistic therapist that uses self-navigation tools like astrology, gene keys, and human design as ways to better understand ourselves, the relationship with each other, and our relationship with the universe. Today I want to talk about gene keys. It's a system that is not as popular as astrology and human design, but it's really worth getting into, just because of the payback it has in self-discovery. What I feel is the most valuable thing of the gene keys is that they are an invitation to an actual practice, while astrology can sometimes just give you a lot of theory and words and ideas and concepts. It's not actually giving you a practice. It tends more to give you an answer. Human design does want you, it's a system that wants you to embody it. Gene keys, though, actually wants you to contemplate. Unless you are contemplating, which is the practice that gene keys suggests, you aren't really working with the system, which is something that not a lot of people know. Sometimes, you go into the website or you pull your profile and you look into it. But unless you have the know-how of how you actually use it, you're not fully benefiting from all the wisdom the system has to offer. So what is contemplation? How to contemplate? I like to describe contemplation as chewing on an idea, because it's not like sitting on deep meditation, or it's not like having a reading. It's you holding a word, a concept, an idea, a gene key in your head and kind of having it there until something happens with it, which is what we called a revelation or an epiphany. And it's having this beautiful aha moment that changes something within you. So see how it is not as simple as just receiving a reading that tries to answer your questions. It is actually inviting you to have your own epiphanies, your own discoveries, your own revelations. That's why it's powerful, that's why it's relevant, and that's why it's probably not as popular as other systems, because for you to actually have an experience with gene keys requires you to actually contemplate. You're not doing any work if it's just some external source telling you who you are or what you should do. It's not empowering, and gene keys is a system that actually empowers us into our own journey of self-discovery and self-awareness. So you actually have a gene key profile. That's good to understand. You go into the gene key website and you pull out what we call the hologenetic profile, which is actually associated to your astrological natal chart. I like to call it like a step-by-step guide into your natal chart. Sometimes we look at a natal chart and we don't really understand what's going on there. It actually requires translation from somebody who studied astrology or the astrological language. Gene keys doesn't require that translation. It's giving you already the language for you to go into contemplation of yourself in a self-guided journey. Choose one gene key and start contemplating with it. The suggestion is usually to start with your life's work gene key, which corresponds to the exact position of the sun in your natal chart. So it's a gene key that has to do with the light you came to shine to the world, or your life's work. Personally, and this is because I'm a 3-5 manifester, I don't think necessarily you have to start with your life's work. You might see your profile, the one you pull out from the gene key page, and want to start somewhere else, and that's totally fine. The important thing is that you start somewhere and you stay there for a bit, at least a day, at least an hour with one gene key. Because that's when interesting things start happen. When you hold this archetype, this gene key, and you start chewing on it and start savoring it, and that's when you extract like the nutrients and the flavor of it, until you get a revelation, an epiphany, something that is so powerful that might transform how you go about the world doing things, or transform deeply ingrained patterns. And that's where the power of this system is. Basically everything in the Gene Key book, the Gene Key website, YouTube on Gene Keys, it's there to help you contemplate. So any extra information that you extract from a Gene Key that is not the words that you see there is there to help you go deeper into the chewing to extract more nutrients. Each Gene Key has 3 words, which are 3 different frequencies of the same thing. The Siddhi, or superpower, which is the highest vibration, the gift, which is a more embodied vibration, and the shadow, which is a shadow frequency. None is good or bad, it's just different frequencies. So it's great to understand that each Gene Key has 3 different levels. And as you chew on a Gene Key, you can understand each of those different frequency levels and start playing with it as frequency bands, understanding that we can have access to those different frequencies if we understand at which frequency we are at. It's like singing, and you understanding what note you're singing and what note do you want to sing, or playing an instrument. You're understanding you're playing a C and you want to play a D, so you go from one to the other, but it's very hard to do if you don't know what a C is or what a D is. Contemplation is something you need to do. Nobody else can do it for you, and that's why it's so powerful. You are getting there. It's not that somebody else is taking you or showing you. It's way more embodied and way more valuable if you get there. The system is just there as a trampoline to get you there.